Where does it all go down? Where can I go in this town? Where do all the boys hang around? At the Yoko Cigar Lounge, yeah. I'm stepping out tonight. I'm gonna go watch the fight. I'll smoke one for you, hanging out with Chuck and Blue.
Welcome to Okoye Cigar Lounge. I'm Chuck, also known as Blue, and you're cigaring with Chuck. Today we have with us Jacob White, one of my friends I met here at the Cigar Lounge. What's going on, Jake?
Not much, sir. How are you today?
I'm doing good. Want to tell the people what we're smoking?
Yeah, we're smoking the Luciano, the Dreamer, a cigar by Ace Prime.
In collaboration with
Crown Heads. That's right.
Crown Heads distributes it.
Mm-hmm.
The Luciano is a Lancero, 7.5 by 34. You know, the Lanceros typically are, well, used to be the stick of the aficionado.
That's right.
You know, most of your casual smoker didn't want to smoke the Lancero.
No, and it's definitely more of a traditional size. A lot smaller ring gauge. Not any of this kind of modern 6.5 by 40 big giant sizes.
Yeah.
Just the nice, long, casual smoke. Sit here and enjoy it.
So it's got a what kind of wrapper does it have?
So this has a Ecuadorian wrapper. It's the Habano Corojo 99 with Nicaraguan filler, along with some Peruvian filler and a Nicaraguan binder.
How long you been smoking cigars?
About 6 years. I've been smoking since 18.
And how old are you now?
And I'm 24, turning 25 this year.
Man, you're a young guy. You're a young guy.
Yeah.
But you've done a lot.
Yeah, I try to do a lot. Being productive, cigars just kind of became a hobby. I started actually smoking pipes.
Okay.
So, I really enjoyed the pipe tobacco, and was really big into smoking like aromatic pipes tobaccos.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you say aromatic, you mean
the really light, kind of airy, like Lane 1Q types. The normal, like, lighter pipe tobaccos.
Okay.
So when I got into cigars, I wanted, sort of naively wanted, like, a pipe experience. And that kind of started my cigar journey. I was all into, like, really light cigars, like the Nat Sherman Hunter was my first cigar ever. It's got a sweetened cap. I liked lighter vanilla notes.
Mm-hmm.
Something, vanilla, cream, some coffee. If I had found the Sobremesa Brulee when I first started smoking, I probably wouldn't have stopped smoking that and just smoked one.
Yeah, never been in, huh?
Yeah, but, I mean...
you mentioned pipe... Lane 1. We
Yeah.
actually carry the Lane 1 here.
Yeah.
The Lane 1 is the #1 selling pipe tobacco in the world.
In the world, yeah.
And we have it.
Yeah. It's a lot of... I still smoke it to this day, all the time.
Nice.
I'm glad you mentioned that. A lot of people just think cigar shops are just cigars. Go in and talk to the guys if you're a pipe smoker. See what kind of pipe tobaccos they carry. One of my biggest enjoyments with smoking a pipe is going to tobacco shops and seeing if they do any of their own, like, in-house blends.
That's something to think
Especially
about.
when I travel. Yeah.
That's something to think about. What's your profession?
So I'm actually an airline pilot at 24.
At 24.
I started flying at 16, so I've flown 8 years.
Man.
But I started commercial flying, like passenger jets, at 22.
Man, that's quite an accomplishment. An early accomplishment. You got a long way to go, man.
I know, and I can fly. We're forced to retire at 65, and I started at 22, so I can have a 43-year career. That doesn't mean I have to stop flying. It just means I have to stop flying, like commercial passenger jets. But I could still fly private jets until I can't really fly anymore. So 75 maybe. I could have a 50-year career.
Yeah, maybe 80.
No.
Flying to your
You gotta know when to stop, man. It's one of those things.
Yeah, it's not like you can just pull over on the side of the road.
No.
That's awesome. I know when you come in here, and anytime someone says that they're a pilot, you know, your eyebrow go up, you know.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Because there's not a lot of people walking around that are pilots.
Right.
Or flying commercial jets. And then here you are doing it at 24.
Really young, yeah.
That's great. That's awesome.
I'm also a really young guy to just be hanging out around cigars. So I'm used to being the young guy.
Well, you hold yourself well also.
Thank you.
You don't walk around like a young guy. You fit right in.
Yeah, and that's probably to do with coming here a lot, hanging out with the guys.
How did you get into flying?
So that's an interesting story.
We got time.
Yeah, we do. My father, it was his dream to be an airline pilot. So he joined the Air Force, and they shipped him off to be a missile mechanic, and he never got to fly.
Wow.
You know, that was always his dream. And then when he got out of the military, he tried to, he actually started flying up here in Collegedale, a little south of Cleveland here.
Mm-hmm.
Started flying with an instructor, renting a plane, was trying to get his license. He got about 20 hours in, and this was the days before GPS. And he was terrified that if he went on his long cross country to get his private pilot license, that he would get lost. So he just kind of stopped flying.
Really?
You know, yeah. He had started a business. Life was kind of taking his attention away from flying, as it often does when you're learning. You know, other things happen, and he just put his attention elsewhere and never picked it back up. My earliest memory being in an airplane was about 8 years old. We went and did a discovery flight at the same flight school there in Collegedale.
Same one that your dad went to?
That my dad went to, yeah. Years later, on a cold winter day. And it was really cool because all the cars were looked like toy cars at 5,000 feet. And I thought that was kind of funny. But even though that was my first memory being around an airplane, it's not what immediately grabbed me and made me want to invest myself into aviation. We had a family friend who had an airplane. And when I was about 15, we went to the airport. We flew down to Paulding County Airport, had lunch with some of his friends in a hangar, called it the Hangout, because that's what you do on the weekends.
Yeah.
Grilled some burgers, had fun. And then we had, he had another friend come down from Chattanooga. So we had 3 airplanes, and then we flew up the Chattahoochee River, all 3 of us side by side, up here to Chattanooga, landed, went and got dinner. And I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. Like, I have to make this my job.
Man, that's awesome right there, man.
I like to keep myself busy. So I like to think that flying was my hobby that became my job.
Okay.
I'm really big into motorcycling. I just bought a new motorcycle. Winter is kind of depressing because I can't ride all the time. I was going to ride up here, but it was supposed to rain. So I enjoy riding motorcycles, big car guy. Before I got into flying, I was always working on and in and around cars, restoring stuff, painting. Did a lot of paint work in high school.
Okay.
Working at a body shop. Know how to weld. I liked metal work. I took up blacksmithing in high school. Still would love to get back into that.
Man, and you're only 24 and you're doing all this.
Music, play 6 instruments. I just keep myself really busy.
This one has a nice little draw to it.
Yeah, it's like, it's not the most tight Lancero I've ever had. It's not the most open either. It's like good right in the middle. I don't want to have to like suck all the smoke out of the cigar. I don't really like that in a cigar.
No, I don't want to have to work.
Yeah.
Not hard anyway.
Yeah, not working for it. But the wrapper's beautiful. The ash is nice and white, flaky. It's holding together well. The smoke is light, but there's a lot of it. It's not a very oily cigar, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
The finish is great. like I'm sitting here still tasting the puff I just had, and I haven't taken another one yet. Like it just stays. The flavors stay.
That's a good cigar.
Yeah, I like it.
Luciano
Mm-hmm.
by Crown Heads. Who introduced you to cigars?
My brother-in-law. So, he kind of introduced me. I found pipes on my own, and then he kind of led me from pipes. He was a pretty avid pipe smoker and is as well, but he also enjoys cigars a lot. So he kind of led me on my cigar journey. So I started smoking really light. The Nat Sherman Hunter was my first cigar. After that, I smoked a lot of like Ashton, Connecticut Churchills, which is a great stick.
Okay.
And then I kind of got hooked on like the Drew Estate Underground Shade. That's one of my go-tos, which we have here in the shop. It's really good.
All right.
But yeah, I got introduced. We just went into the cigar shop. I told the guy I smoked pipes. I wanted something light and airy, something kind of, similar to like a pipe type experience, and I didn't want to be like under the table sick. And he pointed me to that. Nat Sherman Hunter with the sweetened cap. And the sweetened cap is something I kind of stuck to, like the honey cap type cigars where, you draw from the cigar and you lick your lips and it's like sweet.
Okay.
Also kind of helps you from getting sick because that honey helps keep your blood sugar up.
Okay.
So if you're starting in cigars or you want to start smoking cigars, I'd suggest something like that for people.
While flying your plane, have you had some scary moments?
Yeah.
Tell me what's your most scariest? Tell me about some scary moments in the plane.
As an instructor, we always joke about our students trying to kill us, but it actually does kind of happen sometimes. A student will put you in a situation where the difference between you and the airplane being okay is you being there. So a lot of times I've had students kind of scare me a little bit, especially when I was teaching tail wheel. I had a guy come in, bounce a landing really hard, not initiate.
Did you say tail wheel?
Yeah, tail wheel.
You have to explain that, man. We don't know.
Oh, okay, sorry. So, let this go out. Let me relight real quick. And I'll
while you
about it.
relighting, tell me about the tail wheel.
So, tail wheel is like the older style of landing gear for a plane. So it's kind of like two wheels in the front, one wheel in the back, and the plane sits down on its tail.
Okay.
That's tail wheel.
Okay.
What you've seen, like maybe if you've been around smaller airplanes, most airplanes are tricycle gear. So it's two and then one, and the plane sits like kind of flat. So it'll be like the three, like this.
I understand what you're
So tail wheel is also referred to as conventional landing gear, but it requires a special endorsement to fly.
Okay.
So I had a student trying to get that endorsement from me, and it's difficult because there's two types of landing techniques that you practice. You have a wheel landing, which is where you keep the tail up and the plane flat along the runway. And then you have a three-point landing, which is where you kind of come in, stall the plane really close to the ground and try to touch down all three wheels at the same time.
So you're basically gliding as you land.
Right.
Okay.
And I had a student come in. If you bounce the tail wheel, when you bounce the airplane and don't change the power, increase the airspeed, or change the pitch, you can get into this really nasty, like oscillating type motion. But each time you go up, you come down even harder. And it can get so bad that you either collapse the mains and come down, or your pitch is so far down that you'll hit the propeller first before you hit the wheels.
Oh, man.
And then you trash the engine in the airplane. So I had a guy get me into a really bad porpoise, and I was yelling at him like to give me the plane so I could get us out of it, and he was fighting me on the controls. And that was the only time I really ever wanted to like hit somebody in the airplane.
Bam!
Yeah, well, he's in front of me.
Oh.
So we're sitting like behind each other.
So you go.
Which is even worse because I can't see in front of us. I can only see beside us.
Okay.
So like teaching in tail wheels and flying from the back seat is even harder sometimes because you can't really see in front of you. You just have to know where you're at in space and what's going on.
So did he panic and not want to let you have it, or did he was he just stubborn and didn't want you to have it?
He panicked. He like froze.
Oh, okay.
Because he knew like things were going bad, and that was the closest time I've ever come to going off of a runway. Was in this porpoise thing.
In order for him to give you control, would he just had to release
just let
his hand? Oh, just let go.
Just let go.
No button to push or anything.
No, nothing. No autopilot. No nothing. Just like literally just let go, and he just froze and was fighting me on the stick.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So that was pretty scary. Getting into icing. Oh, I had an airplane catch on fire one time. That was pretty scary.
What do you do then?
Well, it was a single engine airplane, so.
You only had one engine.
I only had one engine. I had electrical failure before that, and made the mistake of turning the electrical system back on. It shorted out and was burning the harness at night. This was like 3 o'clock in the morning, coming back from a trip I went on up to Canada. We were flying back, and I caught the harness on fire, and you smell smoke, and that's like your immediate like, oh gosh, like, you know, things are getting real. So you're supposed to open all the windows, all the ventilation, everything, try to get the smoke out because you don't want to have carbon monoxide poisoning or anything that can affect your decision making. So I did that. I found an airport that I was over. I had my iPad mounted up on the yoke here so I could see where I was at, even though my GPS and everything was out because it was mounted in the plane. Wow. I found the airport that I was over, but I couldn't see it. So I had to go to another airport like 10 miles away. Which, when you think you're on fire, like 10 miles is a long way, and that was a long time. The engine still runs because it's mechanically, like the spark plugs and everything on the engine are controlled mechanically. So they generate their own current and fire on themselves. As long as the engine's running, you could lose all electrical power and still have the engine. Yeah. But I didn't have any flaps. I didn't have any landing lights. It's 3 o'clock in the morning at night at an airport where I can't turn the lights on because you do that with the radio.
Wow.
So that was fun.
So how did you land?
I had a phone number for Memphis Center that they gave me when I turned the airplane back on in case I needed it. I got low enough that I could get cell service. I called that number and I asked them to turn the lights on for me.
Turn their lights on?
Turn the airport lights on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And they somehow did it. It was magic. I was like coming at the airport and knew kind of where I was. Like I knew the airport's right in front of me.
Okay.
And it's totally pitch black. And then all of a sudden the runway lights up and I was like, thank you.
That's kind of how people run in the hills and mountains.
Yeah. I mean, you can see, you know.
You know, I thought about taking flight lessons, but I've changed my mind just now.
No,
I've just now changed my mind.
You know, things like that's the thing about it. We talk about the most dangerous part of aviation is really the drive to the airport. It really is. But, you know, as a pilot, you know, you're taught to always be looking for the out, the option. What can you do if something happens right now? Where am I going to go? If I lose the engine right now, what field am I landing in? What road can I take? Are there power lines around? You know, those are the kind of things you think about. And generally, you never want to have to do them. But sometimes, you know, bad things happen, and you have to rely upon your skills to get out of that situation.
Yeah.
So my goal with training somebody is to give them those skills that they can, you know, safely navigate some kind of emergency situation.
Yeah, I bet that guy that was bouncing off the runway, I bet he got some valuable.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably scared him.
I yelled at him for doing that, which probably shouldn't have done. But I mean, we're in the airplane in the heat of the moment, and I'm like screaming at him like, my flight controls, like, let go, please stop fighting me. And he's just still like frozen on the stick. That could have been really ugly.
Yeah.
Luckily it wasn't, but it could have been.
Man, you got to get you a stick so you can pop them in the head
Yeah.
next time.
Well, I had an older flight instructor joke with me. He always flew with a Mexican Coke bottle, halfway drunk, so he could drink the other half during the flight lesson, and if he had to,
I do that all the time, man.
and if he had to, he could pull it out of the seat back and knock the guy out. So some of these guys are way more brutal than I am. I never would do that, but things happen.
All right, man. Thank you for coming by and hanging out with us. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks, Chuck. Always a pleasure.
We've been smoking a Luciano Crown Heads.
Mm-hmm.
He's about to say something.
No, go ahead.
And we're at 246 North Ocoee Street. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube page. We're also on Facebook. Thank you for coming through.